The arrest. The coffee was still warm in Detective Marcus Kane's hands when the call came through dispatch. Another routine pickup, they said. Some waitress causing trouble at the roadside diner on Highway 9. He'd been working doubles for 3 weeks straight, trying to forget the sound of his daughter's voice, asking why Daddy wasn't coming home anymore. The divorce papers were still sitting unsigned on his kitchen table. "You take point on this one," his partner Rodriguez said, adjusting his bulletproof vest. "I'm tired of dealing with these people." Marcus didn't argue. At 34, he'd learned to pick his battles, especially with Rodriguez, whose temper had been getting worse since his gambling debts started piling up. The department was already investigating Rodriguez for excessive force complaints, but nothing ever stuck. Cops protect cops, even the bad ones. The diner looked peaceful enough when they pulled up. Through the grease-stained windows, Marcus could see a young woman wiping down tables, her movements efficient and practiced. She had shoulder-length brown hair and wore the kind of tired smile that came from working too many double shifts. When she stepped outside for what looked like a phone call, Rodriguez was already out of the car. "Ma'am, you need to come with us," Rodriguez barked, not bothering with introductions. The woman looked up, confusion flickering across her face. "I'm sorry, is there a problem, officer?" Something in her voice made Marcus pause. It was calm, measured, like someone who'd been trained to stay composed under pressure, not the reaction he expected from someone supposedly causing trouble. "Sarah Mitchell, you're under arrest," Rodriguez continued, reaching for his handcuffs. "Under arrest for what?" she asked, and Marcus noticed she didn't resist as Rodriguez grabbed her arm. Her eyes found his for just a moment, and he saw something there he couldn't quite place. Not fear, recognition maybe, or disappointment. "Rodriguez, what's the charge?" Marcus asked quietly. "Disturbing the peace. Disorderly conduct. Does it matter?" It should matter, Marcus thought, but he said nothing as Rodriguez cuffed her. The woman Sarah didn't cry or protest. She just stood there, studying both of them with those dark, intelligent eyes. "You have the right to remain silent," Rodriguez began, but Sarah interrupted him. "You're not reading me my rights because you're not actually arresting me, are you?" Her voice was steady, almost clinical. "This isn't official." Rodriguez's jaw tightened. "Get in the car." As they drove away from the diner, Marcus caught Sarah's reflection in the rearview mirror. She was sitting perfectly still, her hands folded in her lap despite the handcuffs, and she was watching him. Not Rodriguez, him. "Marcus Kane," she said quietly, and his blood went cold. "Badge number 2847, divorced 6 months ago. Daughter named Emma, age 7. Rodriguez slammed on the brakes. "How the hell do you know that?" But Sarah's eyes never left Marcus's in the mirror. "The question you should be asking, Detective Kane, is why your partner picked me up without a warrant, without cause, and without calling it in." Marcus felt his phone buzz. "A text from an unknown number. Check the diner's security footage. Check it now." "Rodriguez," Marcus said slowly, "what exactly did dispatch tell you about this call?" Revelations Rodriguez's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. Dispatch said she was causing problems. "Making threats." "Threats against who?" Marcus pulled out his phone, fingers moving quickly across the screen. The diner's security system was cloud-based, accessible through the city's business monitoring network. What he saw made his stomach drop. The footage showed Sarah serving customers, laughing with an elderly man over his coffee, helping a mother clean up after her toddler knocked over a juice box. No disturbance, no threats, just a waitress doing her job. "There was no call," Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. In the back seat, Sarah's expression didn't change. She was still watching him in the mirror, and he could see she was calculating something, weighing options he couldn't even guess at. "Your partner has gambling debts," she said conversationally. "Owes money to some very unforgiving people. They needed a favor. Something to do with the diner's owner who's been refusing to pay protection money." "Shut up!" Rodriguez snarled, taking a sharp turn that sent Marcus against the door. "The plan was simple," Sarah continued, as if Rodriguez hadn't spoken. "Arrest the employee, make it look like the place attracts trouble. Create enough problems that the owner sells cheap or starts paying up." Marcus's phone buzzed again. This time it was a call, not a text. The caller ID made him go cold, internal affairs. Don't answer that, Rodriguez said, but Marcus was already swiping to accept. Detective Kane, this is Lieutenant Morrison. We need you to bring your vehicle in immediately. Do not, under any circumstances, continue to your intended destination. Sir, we're transporting a suspect. There is no suspect, Kane. Check your dispatch records. There was no call. Marcus felt the world tilt sideways. He'd trusted Rodriguez for 2 years, had his back in 3 shootouts, covered for him when his drinking got bad after his marriage fell apart. But this wasn't about having a bad day or making a mistake. This was corruption, plain and simple. Sarah, he said, and using her first name felt like crossing some invisible line. Who are you, really? For the first time since they'd picked her up, Sarah smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Someone who's very good at staying invisible when she wants to be, she said, and someone who's even better at making problems disappear when they threaten innocent people. Rodriguez pulled the car over so suddenly that Marcus's seatbelt cut into his chest. They were on a deserted stretch of road, nothing but cornfields stretching out in every direction. Get out, Rodriguez told Marcus, his hand resting on his service weapon. Rodriguez, what are you doing? I said get out. You're compromised. This whole thing is compromised. Marcus looked back at Sarah, who was watching this unfold with the detached interest of someone studying a chess game. How did you know about my daughter? Because 3 hours ago, your ex-wife received a phone call from someone claiming to be from Emma's school, Sarah said quietly. They said there had been an incident, that she needed to come pick Emma up immediately. When she got there, the school had no record of any call. The blood drained from Marcus's face. Where is Emma? Safe, Sarah said, but only because I made sure she was. Rodriguez's gun was out now, pointed at Marcus through the driver's side window. I said, get out, Kane. But Marcus was looking at Sarah, really looking at her for the first time. The calm, the calculated responses, the way she seemed to know things she shouldn't know. And underneath it all, something else. Something that looked almost like loneliness. Who are you? He asked again. Someone who used to trust people like you, she said. And for just a moment, her mask slipped. He saw pain there, old and deep. Someone who learned the hard way that sometimes the good guys aren't good at all. The choice. Marcus stepped out of the patrol car with his hands visible, his gun still holstered. The corn rustled in the wind around them, and somewhere in the distance, a train whistle echoed across the flat landscape. Rodriguez kept the weapon trained on him, but his hands were shaking. Rodriguez, you don't want to do this, Marcus said. Whatever they're paying you, whatever they've promised you, it's not worth throwing your life away. You don't get it? Kane. They have photos, video, things that could destroy my family. Rodriguez's voice cracked. My wife, she doesn't know about the gambling, about the money I took from evidence lockup. If this comes out. If you shoot a cop, it's over anyway, Marcus said, taking a careful step forward. There's no coming back from that. In the back seat, Sarah had managed to work one hand free from the handcuffs. Marcus caught the movement in his peripheral vision, but didn't react. She was picking the lock with something small and metallic, her movements precise and practiced. 3 years ago, Sarah said, her voice cutting through the tension, you responded to a domestic violence call on Maple Street. A woman named Jennifer Rodriguez. Rodriguez spun toward the car, his face going white. Don't you dare. She had 2 broken ribs and a fractured wrist, Sarah continued, completely calm despite the gun now pointed at her. But she wouldn't press charges. Said she fell down the stairs. Shut up. Your wife, Rodriguez. Your wife who doesn't know about the gambling. Sarah's eyes met Marcus's in the mirror, and he understood. She was giving him a choice. Save himself or save Rodriguez's family from the truth. Marcus made his decision. He lunged forward, tackling Rodriguez to the ground just as the gun went off. The shot went wide, shattering the patrol car's rear window. They wrestled in the dirt, Rodriguez fighting with the desperation of a man who had nothing left to lose. When the dust settled, Marcus had Rodriguez's weapon, and Rodriguez was face down in the corn dust, cuffing him with his own handcuffs. You should have killed me when you had the chance, Rodriguez panted. Marcus looked down at his former partner, this man he'd trusted with his life, and felt something break inside his chest. I'm not like you. Sarah had freed herself completely now and was standing beside the car, massaging her wrists where the cuffs had chafed them. She looked different without the restraints, more dangerous somehow, like a predator that had been pretending to be prey. "Your daughter is at the safe house on Elm Street," she told Marcus. "The one Internal Affairs uses for witness protection. She thinks it's a sleepover." "How do you know about IA safe houses?" Sarah's smile was sad this time, not dangerous. "Because I used to be the one they called when situations like this got complicated." Marcus felt his phone buzz. A new text from the same unknown number. "Black SUV approaching from the east. 3 men. Armed. You have maybe 2 minutes." "Friends of yours?" Sarah asked, nodding toward the dust cloud rising in the distance. "Rodriguez's cleanup crew," Marcus realized. "They can't let this get out." Sarah was already moving, checking Rodriguez for additional weapons, scanning the horizon with the practiced eye of someone who'd been in firefights before. "How good are you in a real fight, Detective Kane?" Marcus thought about his daughter, probably scared and confused, wondering why strangers had taken her to a strange house. He thought about his ex-wife, who, despite everything they'd been through, trusted him to keep their child safe. "Good enough," he said, chambering a round in Rodriguez's backup pistol. "Then we need to move, now." But as they started running toward the cover of the corn rows, Sarah grabbed his arm. For just a moment, her fingers lingered on his skin, and he felt something pass between them. Recognition, maybe, or the beginning of trust. "Marcus," she said, and hearing his name in her voice made something twist in his chest. "When this is over, there are things about me you're not going to like." The black SUV was close enough now that he could hear the engine roaring across the fields. "I already don't like most things about today," he said. "This is different." Her eyes were dark, haunted. "I've done things, hurt people, choices I made that I can never take back." "Sarah," he said, and realized he was still holding her arm. "Right now, you're the only person I trust." That seemed to surprise her. For just a moment, the mask slipped again, and he saw the woman underneath. Scared, lonely, carrying secrets that were eating her alive. The SUV crested the hill, and Marcus could see the men inside. They weren't wearing uniforms. "Tell me something," Sarah said as they dropped into the corn. "If you had to choose between doing the right thing and protecting the people you love, what would you do?" The betrayal Marcus didn't get a chance to answer. The first gunshot ripped through the corn stalks 3 feet from his head, and then they were running, crouched low, using the rows for cover. Behind them, he could hear Rodriguez shouting directions to the men from the SUV. "There's an old farmhouse about half a mile north," Sarah whispered, her breathing controlled despite their pace. "Stone foundation, good sight lines. We can make our stand there." "How do you know that?" "I've been mapping escape routes since I moved to this town 3 years ago." She paused at the end of a corn row, listening. Old habits. They moved like ghosts through the field, Sarah somehow knowing exactly where to step to avoid the irrigation ditches and farm equipment that could trip them up. Marcus found himself watching her more than watching for threats, mesmerized by the way she moved. Like violence was a language she'd learned to speak fluently. When they reached the farmhouse, Sarah went in first, checking corners with the instincts of someone who'd cleared hostile buildings before. The place had been abandoned for years, but the stone walls were solid and the windows gave them a clear view of anyone approaching. "Marcus," Sarah said, as they took positions at opposite windows. "There's something I need to tell you before they get here." "Can it wait?" "No." Her voice was strange, hollow. "The reason I know so much about you, about Rodriguez, about your daughter, it's not because I'm some kind of intelligence operative." Marcus felt ice forming in his stomach. "Then what?" "I'm bait." The word hung in the air between them like a physical thing. Marcus turned away from the window, staring at her across the dusty room. "What does that mean?" "It means this whole thing was a setup from the beginning. Rodriguez didn't randomly decide to grab me. Someone told him to. Someone who knew he was dirty, who knew he'd take the job if the price was right." Marcus's gun felt heavy in his hands. "Someone like who?" Sarah was crying now, silent tears cutting tracks through the dust on her cheeks. "Someone like me." The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. The way she'd known about Emma, about the safe house, about Rodriguez's debts. The calm acceptance of her arrest, like she'd been expecting it. The phone call she'd made to an unknown number. "You work for Internal Affairs," he said. "Worse." Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. "I work for the people Internal Affairs calls when they need someone to disappear." Marcus felt something die inside his chest. The trust, the connection, the stupid, impossible attraction he'd felt building between them. All of it had been a lie. "My daughter is safe. I swear to you, Marcus, Emma is safe." That part was real. "I couldn't let them use a child. But you could use me?" "Yes." The word came out like a sob. "I could use you. I've been using you from the moment Rodriguez put those handcuffs on me. Everything I've told you, everything I've shown you, it was all designed to make you trust me, to make you care." Outside, Marcus could hear vehicles approaching, multiple engines getting closer. "So what happens now?" he asked. "They kill Rodriguez to keep him quiet, and you disappear with whatever evidence you've collected?" "No." Sarah wiped her face with the back of her hand, leaving smears in the dust. "What happens now is I make the only choice I've got left." She pulled a small device from her pocket, something that looked like a garage door opener with a single red button. "Emergency beacon," she explained. "Push this, and a tactical team drops out of the sky in under 10 minutes. Rodriguez gets taken into protective custody, the corruption ring gets rolled up, and everyone goes home safe. Except you. Except me." Sarah's smile was heartbreaking. "Because the people I work for, they don't like loose ends. And I've become a very big loose end." Marcus stared at the device in her hand. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because in about 30 seconds, you're going to have to choose between letting me press this button or stopping me. And I need you to understand that if you stop me, Rodriguez dies out there in that field. Those men aren't taking prisoners. And if I don't stop you, then you'll never see me again." The sound of car doors slamming echoed across the empty fields. Marcus could see figures moving through the corn, at least 6 of them, spreading out in a tactical formation. "There's a third option," he said. "Marcus, don't. We fight them together. Right here, right now. No backup, no tactical teams, no mysterious handlers. Just us." Sarah stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "You still trust me?" "After everything I just told you?" Marcus looked out the window at the men moving through the corn, at Rodriguez still cuffed and helpless in the dirt by the patrol car. He thought about his daughter, probably crying herself to sleep in a strange bed, wondering where her daddy was. "I trust that you pulled me out of Rodriguez's car when you could have let him kill me," he said. "I trust that you're crying right now, which means some part of this is real for you too, Marcus. And I trust that if you really wanted me dead—" "I'd already be dead." Sarah's hand trembled on the emergency beacon. Outside, someone shouted an order, and Marcus heard the distinctive sound of assault rifles being charged. "If we do this," Sarah said, "if we fight them together, there's no going back. You'll be marked. They'll come after your family, your career, everything you care about. They're already coming after everything I care about." Sarah looked at him for a long moment, studying his face like she was trying to memorize it. Then she threw the beacon out the window, where it landed in the dirt and lay silent. "I've never had a partner before," she said. "Well," Marcus said, checking his ammunition, "I'd just lost mine." The end. The battle lasted 17 minutes. Marcus would remember that detail later when the investigators asked him to walk through the timeline. 17 minutes that felt like hours, moving from window to window, covering each other's blind spots, communicating with glances and gestures like they'd been partners for years instead of strangers thrown together by circumstance. Sarah fought like someone with nothing left to lose, which Marcus realized was exactly what she was. Every shot was precise, every movement calculated. She'd been right about one thing. Violence was a language she spoke fluently. When the dust settled, 4 men lay dead in the cornfield. The other 2 had retreated when it became clear this wasn't going to be the easy cleanup job they'd been promised. Rodriguez was still alive, still cuffed, probably wishing he wasn't. "It's over," Sarah said, but she didn't sound relieved. She sounded tired, hollowed out, like someone who'd just burned the last bridge behind her. Marcus's phone was ringing. Internal Affairs probably, or FBI, or someone else with initials who'd want to debrief him and classify whatever had just happened. He let it ring. "What now?" he asked. Sarah was standing at the window, looking out at the carnage they'd created together. "Now you go back to your life. You tell them I was a witness, that I helped you stop Rodriguez and his associates. You don't mention the other stuff. And you? I disappear. New name, new life. Somewhere they'll never find me." She turned away from the window, and Marcus saw that she was crying again. "It's what I'm good at. Sarah. That's not even my real name." Marcus crossed the room, stopping close enough to touch her, but not quite daring to. "I don't care what your real name is." "You should care. You should care that I've killed people, Marcus. More people than you can imagine. You should care that I'm not a good person. Are you a good person now?" The question seemed to surprise her. She looked up at him, searching his face for something he couldn't name. "I don't know," she said finally. "I threw away the beacon. I chose you over the mission. That's the first time I've ever done that." "Then maybe that's enough." Marcus's phone started ringing again. This time he answered it. "Detective Kane? This is Agent Morrison, FBI. We're en route to your location. Is the situation contained?" Marcus looked at Sarah, who was watching him with those dark, intelligent eyes. She'd given him a choice back in the farmhouse. Now he was giving her one. "The situation is contained," he said. "Rodriguez is alive and in custody. The suspects are neutralized. Any other individuals on scene?" Marcus held Sarah's gaze. "Negative. I'm alone." Agent Morrison's voice crackled through the phone. "Copy that. Maintain position. We'll be there in 15 minutes. Marcus ended the call. Sarah was staring at him like she'd never seen him before. "Why?" she asked. "Because my daughter needs a world where people like Rodriguez don't get to win," he said. "And because I think you want that too." "I'm not going to turn into some suburban housewife, Marcus. I can't just pretend the last 10 years didn't happen. I'm not asking you to." Marcus stepped closer, close enough to smell her shampoo underneath the cordite and dust. "I'm asking you to stay. Help me figure out how to fix this broken system. From the inside instead of burning it down from the outside. They'll never stop looking for me. Then we'll deal with that when it happens." Sarah reached up and touched his face. Her fingers rough with calluses he was just now noticing. "You don't even know me. I know you pulled me out of that car. I know you cried when you told me the truth. I know you threw away your escape route to help me save someone who just tried to kill us both." Marcus covered her hand with his own. "That's enough to start with." For a moment, they just stood there in the dusty farmhouse, two broken people who'd found something worth fighting for in each other. Outside, Marcus could hear sirens in the distance getting closer. "If I stay," Sarah said, "everything changes. Your life, your career, your relationship with your daughter. Are you ready for that?" Marcus thought about Emma, asleep in a safe house, trusting that Daddy would come get her. He thought about Rodriguez, whose corruption had put innocent people at risk. He thought about all the other Rodriguezes out there and all the other Sarahs fighting a war that nobody else wanted to acknowledge. "I'm ready," he said. Sarah kissed him then, soft and desperate and tasting like tears and promises neither of them was sure they could keep. When they broke apart, she was smiling, really smiling for the first time since he'd met her. "My real name is Elena," she said. "Nice to meet you, Elena." The sirens were very close now, and Marcus could see the dust clouds from approaching vehicles. Soon there would be questions, debriefings, paperwork. Soon he'd have to explain how a simple arrest had turned into a firefight that left 4 people dead and a corruption ring exposed. But right now there was just Elena, looking at him like he'd just offered her something she'd never dared to hope for, a chance to be someone different, someone better. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. Marcus thought about trust and second chances, and the possibility that sometimes the most broken people were exactly what the world needed to help fix itself. "I'm sure," he said. Outside, the first FBI vehicle crested the hill, followed by 3 more. Elena stepped away from the window, straightening her shoulders, preparing to become whatever she needed to be to make this work. "Together?" she asked. "Together," Marcus said. And then the future was rushing toward them, uncertain and dangerous and full of possibilities they'd never imagined when the day began with a simple arrest that wasn't simple at all. The end.